Vicky Linane and welcome to Embrace Therapy podcast. I am a practicing art therapist based in Ireland. In each episode, I will interview guests from various fields of therapy and well-being with the aim to encourage healing through embracing therapy. My guest this week is Lou van Laake. Lou moved from the Netherlands to Ireland in 2004 to continue her studies in NUI Maynooth to be a dramatherapist. Lou joined Full Circle Playback Theatre in Dublin and in 2015 became the company leader. Let's find out more about Playback Theatre from Lou. I guess I want to start with what would support look like to you? It's a pretty heavy question, but I think it's a really good question to start on because I think a lot of people don't know what support is. It can be something that is quite accessible and, we don't really realize it. So what would support look like to you in an everyday sense?
To me, I think I've noticed that in my work as a mental health support worker, that it doesn't necessarily have to be about the deep stuff or what is troubling you or what is all the mental health stuff. It's actually to say, hello, how you been? What you doing today? What's up? And even an open question like that, to be asked an open question like that, how are you? Which is the first thing that most people say to each other, but most of the time you're not expecting an answer.
Yeah, you don't wait for an answer even.
People don't have time for an answer.
Yeah.
So that openness, I think, is what support is, a space and the freedom to say what you need to say. And that can be a friend, and other friends are really not supportive. So you really pick those who are there, that see you and hear you.
Yeah.
And give you that space, yeah.
And like there's something then like that I feel like even friends that energize you rather than drain you. And it can be just that simple, just that space that you said, that's opened up, like, and the potential in that space then, it can really just be, like you said, it can be mundane and it can be just sitting next to somebody sometimes and not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be filled. And I think more and more we tend to do those support bits very quickly or in between things or actually on our phone while we're listening, which means we're not listening. And 2 minutes of actual listening does so much more than half an hour of not really, not really listening.
And I'm really interested to know what encouraged you and inspired you to be a therapist, and not only a therapist but a drama therapist. And I'm curious to know, what was that thread that you pulled, or what exactly was it for you? Was it the drama side first, maybe, or the
and to be clear, I'm not working as a therapist, but what I do is very therapeutic.
Yes, absolutely.
And even in other work that I do, in Playback Theatre, which I know we're going to talk about later, that isn't therapy, but it's very therapeutic, or it can be very therapeutic. But to come back to your question, I think the therapy side or the listening side or that supporting side has always been a part of my life. I just happened to be one of those people that everybody always went to. And I seem to be good at it. And then I went, this is maybe too easy, and it's in my family, and my mom is kind of that background. And therefore, when I went to actually study, I went, no, I want to do something else. I want to go into the arts. I want to do what they call in Holland kleinkunst, which is like cabaret and singing and theater, and so not traditional theater. And I kind of went off that because of life, and was kind of easier to stay where I was, just me and my mom, and it was the best psychology course in the Netherlands. So I went, okay, I'll just do that. probably the smarter thing to do.
Hmm.
Will come out somewhere because I'd always been in my life theatre from about the age of 13.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Brilliant.
Um, well, actually, from the age of 4, I started ballet, so I'd like the stage. I like the stage and being in the limelight. Um, so when I started this psychology, and I really loved that, I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And the part of the abnormal psychology, so basically everything that goes wrong in the psyche or with people, or
Mm,
sexuality was actually a massive part that I was interested in,
mm,
from all ages, and the education of it and all those things. But to make a long story short, so I did the first year, and then I auditioned for a theatre, uh, one of the main theatre companies, theatre academies.
right. Okay.
Um, so I auditioned for, um, the theatre academy in Maastricht and got in, and had to decide to either do that or do psychology. And I went, okay, well, there's only so many. So I went to do the acting academy. My dad had just died, and that grief came up while I was in the acting academy. And I
Oh,
think that was completely the wrong place for me to be.
how old are you then?
I was 20.
Oh my goodness, so young.
So, and then the arts and that really artistic world, is not the supportive place
Mm,
that somebody should be in. Or for me, it was really the wrong place. So within about 2 months, I left and went back to psychology and finished that. Um, and at the end of that, I moved to Ireland
mm,
and was here with a fresh new master's in psychology and no real life experience or clinical experience, bar bits and bobs.
mm,
Um, then I got into my job, the mental health job, because of research I'd done for my thesis, luckily. And but this theater bit still kept
yeah.
in the back of my head, and suddenly I saw there was this thing called drama therapy, and I went, what is that? That sounds like the perfect combination between my two passions that I've never been able to combine, theater and psychology. Turns out that Holland is massive for drama therapy, but I just never knew.
Oh my goodness. And you're here in
Um,
Ireland seeing it.
we're in Ireland. So I auditioned for that,
Yeah.
went through the interview process
And
and
that's
got
in Maynooth here. Yeah.
in Maynooth, yeah. So again, it was the second time that I knew that there was a few hundred people applying and 20 to 30 people being accepted. So I went, okay, this must be the thing for me to do. And unfortunately, the Ireland that I came into in 2008 as a fresh drama therapist, and I think it hasn't changed that much in 12 years, is that it's not really recognized. I believe it's still statutory, and that's the wrong word, that by this
Recognition at all. Yeah.
recognition.
Yeah.
And it'd be very hard unless I would start my own business or something like that, or be very lucky. And I still have my mental health work, so I just used that to do some drama therapy. Couldn't call it drama therapy because weren't an organization that did therapy.
Okay.
So I used drama in a therapeutic way. But one of the main things that I got out of the drama therapy course was playback, which was a module in the course.
No way. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, funnily enough, it was 2 weekends, and actually one weekend I completely missed, but the first weekend I didn't. And there was something about it, and after we finished, one of my mates had been already was in Full Circle Playback, which was then called Dublin Playback Theatre Company. And there was a gang of us that joined her. So we, there was, in the end, there was 4 of our class that went into the company. So it stayed a bit together, and it was my theatre fix.
That's
Mm.
fantastic. Yeah. And I suppose it was something that was already happening, and the company was already established, and that must have felt nice then, still having that kind of support, peer support coming from the drama therapy into something really established, and kind of settling into it. And then I know
Yeah.
it was in 2015 then you became the company leader.
Yeah, so I started with Playback in 2008, straight after graduating, really. Yeah, the process of being there on a weekly basis and working with your own stories and being creative and a different way of listening. And there's a lot of us were drama therapists or psychodramatists, but we had an engineer, and
Yeah.
it was or 2 engineers even.
Open to
Uh,
everything, which is so beautiful.
yeah, and the great thing is that with playback theater, you don't have to be an actor or a therapist, or you um, just need to be able to listen, and all the other techniques you learn. That's why you practice. But there's something about that listening and what we said before, that being open to receive and really hear something, to then do something with. And with playback theater, then you put that into a theatrical offering back to the person who shared something, the teller. So it was a very big personal journey, as was the drama therapy course itself, where you go into your own therapy and you have group therapy, and
Yes.
you come out completely different than you came in,
Mm.
um, in a good way for me, definitely. And playback is still doing that. It's very much that personal discovery in a way, and exploration, and you're bumping into things, and your self-confidence goes up and down, and you think you have it, and then you think you've completely lost it, and it's and giving feedback and receiving feedback and listening and telling and sharing, and
Mm.
so many aspects. And of course that becomes therapeutic
Yeah.
a lot the longer you do it, and the closer you get with your company members.
Mm. Do you feel like it's an inspiring place for you as well? As a performer, you're a performer as well. Like, so that part of you, do you feel like it keeps those creative juices flowing and inspires you in your own creativity? Is it that kind of space also, as well as a kind of therapeutic healing space for you?
Definitely, and I think that will probably come first.
Okay.
It's that creative side.
Mm.
Again, the therapeutic or the personal development, it's very much part of it. Um, but it happens anyway.
Yeah.
While the creative is where all the skills come in, and where you're really, playback theater is really about honoring somebody, sharing, somebody's telling you a story of their own life, and you have the privilege and the honor and the task to transform that in a theatrical way and give it back to them,
Mm.
play it back to them. And you want to do that right. And the more you do it, the more you want to do it right. But you want to also keep finding new ways to do it. And it's very inspiring to see other people do it and go, oh, you can do it like that as well. So you're constantly exploring together in the company, but also with other companies. And because it's an international form, you can go all over the world, and you'll find other playbackers and see how they do it. And now in the pandemic, that's it's kind of my lifeline. I'm meeting all these people from all over the world while I'm at home.
Yeah, so in this moment where we're meant to be locked in and,
Mm,
through social distancing, we're reaching out through Zoom and platforms like it and being more social and actually finding the space to be more creative. And like, I suppose I'm aware that you're linking in with people in America and like kind of worldwide, I suppose, but
yeah.
it's a wonderful opportunity um to share skills, and like you said,
Mm,
oh, you can do that. It's
yeah.
really lovely
And
space.
also what I've noticed, because in a company you and as a company leader, that the position I'm in at the moment is very much the trainer as well. So
Mm,
it's it doesn't have to be, but that's where it's at the moment, is that kind of responsibility role, and holding and giving that safe environment, um, and really teaching while being practicing with other companies over Zoom has really given me as an actor and as a creative and a performer the opportunities to try out things.
mm,
Um, but I've also bumped into a few like um, big judgments that I'm having about other people, which you almost don't have in a company because you're fairly comfortable together and you have that space to feed back and talk about things if they come up. But when you're working with people you don't know, but you're working fairly intensively, there's loads of judgments and you're bumping into to yourself, which I also think is great.
mm.
That you're being challenged about what you're thinking, or um, when you stop listening, why did I stop listening there?
Yeah, yeah.
Or why am I getting this gut reaction to this person? What did they just do? I don't even know them. So it's um, and then the beauty of it when you're hearing a story and you're really feeling it,
Mm,
and that still goes through Zoom as much as being in the same space with someone who's sharing. You can feel it, and that's beautiful, and you can use that to really honor what they're saying.
mm.
And then those moments where you're really feeling it, that's probably the more therapeutic bits for yourself and for those that you play back for.
Yeah, it's a real wow moment. Yeah.
Yes, we call it the magic of playback. And hearing something in between the lines, I think that's um, doing playback is definitely, and I'm noticing this week after 2 weeks, 2 days of a workshop about listening and deeper listening, I was listening differently to um, my clients this week.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
More actively
just
listening.
and not necessarily because I learned a new skill, but just a little tweak of,
Yeah.
why are they saying this to me? Why are they saying this now? Why do they feel that they want to share this with me now? Um, what assumptions are in there? What is the bigger meaning under, in it?
Mm,
What's the mystery? What, being actually the curiosity of someone. And I think as a therapist, we sometimes lose that because we do it long, and we might do it um, automatically anyway. It's innate in us. We listen, but
yeah.
we sometimes lose that curiosity.
Yeah, that's I think the main drive as a trainee therapist is that curiosity and one.
Mm.
And yeah, absolutely, it can be kind of put on a shelf a little bit and getting dusty.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
very much.
I think you kind of mentioned something there, and it brought up the idea of like connection and connectivity. And even though it's through Zoom right now that you're doing it, like playback, you're still
Mm.
finding ways to connect. And I think that's the main thing that I've realized through the pandemic and working online as an art therapist. I'm finding that actually the relationship and the connection is just everything. And I think it's parallel as well in playback, that connection that we have with other beings is the most important
Mm,
thing, and putting value on that. I think that's really what I've taken out of the pandemic anyway. um
yeah.
what
And finding universality in it, although also realizing we're all unique and we can't be, thrown on the same heap. Um, that term that people use, like we're all in the same boat. We're not. We're in different boats, but in the same storm.
exactly.
Somebody said that, and I went, yeah, that's much more
Mm,
accurate.
yeah.
So we're in the same storm, but one boat might be a bit more luxurious or sturdier or has more food on board than another one that is built out of rafts and is barely sticking together.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's in sharing stories, it's finding that universality
Yeah.
amongst the individuality, and therefore you can create community.
Mm,
We're not all individuals,
mm,
which of course we are, but we connect through saying we're similar here,
mm,
or we are complete opposites, which also creates connection.
yeah.
And why are we opposites, and what are we doing with that opposition?
Mm,
Can we work with it, or just recognize that it's there?
mm.
Um,
Seems like the visual that you brought there is like almost building a raft, like, seeing the rickety boats and seeing if we can pool
mm.
together, like you said, in a community, and almost like build that metaphorical raft, like to get through the storm.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
And in playback, we talk about the red thread.
mm,
So it's almost what is the red thread that goes from boat to boat to raft to ship to ocean liner. There is a connection that keeps us all connected.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and not to lose that, and that curiosity of what is that. I
Mm,
know they're very different, but what is it that actually makes us similar, or more tolerant, therefore, of each other, that we're not so different.
when we talk about the pandemic, a lot of people are saying, oh, we're kind of getting back to normal now. um
Mm.
and I always kind of, in the back of my mind, being like, do we want to go back to that? And I suppose my question would be, out of it, is there some part of normality that you're willing to just be like, no, you're not coming back, I'm going to shut the door on that part of normal life?
Mm.
What would that be for you? Is there anything that you can put a boundary up against?
Good question. I think what I'm taking, the more being, and again, that sounds very flaky in my ears, but what I mean with that is the connections that I've had over the last while with friends who are close. I've become closer, and because I stepped away from A, technology, B, just sat with them.
Yeah.
The weather was nice. You're sitting under a nice pergola with a glass gin tonic, and you're just sitting and taking the time, because what else will you be doing? So there's a space that was created for us. I think again that's probably the red thread in this story. It's creating that space and that openness to connect and to be, and um, stepping away from that phone,
Mm,
um, and other things that just fill your head with whatever. Is it important? Is the question. And then in a lockdown, I get presented with an allotment, and I love it. And I walk away from everything and stick my hands in the ground and get blisters the
Oh,
size of euro coins, which I believe is a badge of honor.
mm,
And I feel my body, and I feel that it aches, but it feels good because I've done something, and you can see what you've created.
yeah,
You have it's like gardening that I've done anyway, but after so much, there's not much more gardening. While an allotment is constant, um, it's constant work, and it daunts me. But I also like the prospect of uh, that kind of really being away from everything, and um, a community, like straight away, people saying hello, wanting to help you, wanting to give you advice, are curious, you know, and you're working in muck and with things that grow, and it's that weeding of your own head.
mm,
And again, that's a creative art, or yeah, a creative arts therapy in the making. It's getting your hands in something and creating life, or creating um, beauty, or something you can eat, which is even better because it tastes better as well.
knowing
And
what
see, yeah, and seeing. I think it's about seeing a result
yeah,
fairly easily. Well, being on the phone for 2 hours, I don't even know what I've done. I've clicked a couple of things, and it actually hasn't energized me or filled me with anything
yeah, the tangibility.
for a very full head. So I'm really noticing that, um, and I think it's having an alternative to choose. Um, that after a day of work, it's very easy to sit in a chair and take your phone out and look at it for an hour or an hour and a half before dinner.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you could do something that shifts. So I go to this allotment 3 minutes down the road from me. I'm there an hour,
Mm.
come back and eat, and then have the whole evening. And I feel like the whole energy's changed because I've put energy in my body, after a day of sitting down looking at a screen anyway. So I would definitely like to keep that, and that more connection, even in the community, going to the shop and talking and taking time to say, hey, how's it going? What do you do? What do you have today? you know just saying hello to neighbors that normally don't say hello to you at all. Now I say hello to everybody and every dog that passes me, but most people don't. But they do now, so I hope that stays.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there's a lot of personal growth as well as your vegetables and everything else growing. There's a lot of,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's magic.
A nice quietness.
Yeah.
um and my head would be very busy, so it's nice to find something that has made me a bit more calm.
Yeah, there's a lot of healing in gardening, and like there's quite a lot of a movement in that now, like eco psychology, and that whole back to nature. And I think it's wonderful that we're all, if we have a window box, we're utilizing it. It's really great.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot behind it. Just even thinking about it as like a charging from the ground up. It's so great.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm curious again about, like, I suppose you're just so authentically you, and I just really adore that, about you, and just how, even during a time like this, it's like, you're able to kind of stand back and be like, okay, well, this is not helping me. I'm not going to
Mm.
stay on the phone, and I'm going to do something a little bit out of my comfort zone. Go
Mm.
and be in a different community and get dirty in something,
Yeah.
try something new, I think is always a good thing for someone to do, to try something new.
Yeah. And I realize that a specific example, it's not it that's not possible for everyone. And you can't just you have to, there's waiting list for allotments, and I was lucky um to take one over.
Yeah, it's
Um
the city anyway. Yes.
yeah. But before that, before I had that, and I didn't have that specific um outlet, I was sitting here and going, what can I do? And the weather wasn't always good. And, because if it rains, nobody's going to an allotment when it rains. So then you're stuck in your house and you go, okay, well, then my alternative is my phone.
Mm.
And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I went to look again into the arts and going, what can I do here inside my house? And what am I not getting anymore? So I am not cycling into work anymore. I'm not running up and down stairs anymore. So the physicality is gone.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
So I went, I need to get some physicality. So I cleared up my attic and I started like doing a bit of stretching, and that's how it started. And then I went, oh yeah, I used to dance. Started when I was 4, so still have that. Gives you good shoulders when you start really early,
Yeah.
and it stays in your body. So I started dancing again, and not steps or courses, or because I'm really bad at that. I'm a complete freelance dancer. Um, and I also didn't want to do, specific time, because, you know, you have to be in the mood for it. So that's why classes, I always struggle with going to classes, specific time, and I really want to go or have something else on. So to have this tiny little space, and it's really small, and it's now even smaller because I went through some planks. So I jumped up and down too hard. So it's now
Wow.
even smaller.
Well done. Working hard.
uh, be careful where you have your dance space. Um, but just to move, um, and I took the mirrors off the walls, so it didn't become about performing. And I got that off. It was a course, but it was a very free, a couple of videos put together by playbackers from Russia
Oh,
who were very much into their movement.
mm,
But the beauty of it was that you could turn it on whenever you wanted, and there were only half-hour slots. It was easy; you could turn it on anytime, which completely worked for me. Um, and it just gave me some extra things to think about while I moved, and expanded that. But just to be in my body,
absolutely.
because I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels all the COVID wobbles and extra pounds just piling on because we're not moving. We're just in our house, and you can only make so many steps in your house.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I really found the need like that again. Like, I also started ballet when I was around that age as well, 4 or 5, and
Mm,
it is something that if you have, which we all have rhythm. We all fell in love with our mother's heartbeat, so it is
mm,
that rhythm, and we do know how to move. But yeah, if we can do it in a non-judgment way, it's brilliant. I even actually just started tuning into a guy in LA, and he's on Instagram. I think his full name is Jeff Hutchinson, I think, something like that. But just amazing. And like, he put up live videos of him, and it's just him alone, barefoot, and he's just giving some steps, very, very basic, and he'll just
mm,
just like freestyle, and you freestyle or whatever. But I just do that in my kitchen. I wouldn't necessarily do it live, like tuning in at a particular time, but he might have some
mm.
clips, or he might have put up a whole class on his Instagram, and I just tune in, and yeah, like, just to
Yeah,
move in the kitchen and just let it all go, you know
yeah,
let release whatever I was kind of holding in, because yeah, I don't know what I would have done the first 6 weeks of lockdown otherwise. uh,
yeah.
just following the body and just really needing that release. Yeah, so I totally think the more we realize that, you know, our body and our mind connection, and how one leads the other and helps the other and guides the other, you know, so definitely shake it out, like, you know.
Definitely, yes. Shake it out.
Shake it out.
But within that, just that, and I think as a support worker and supporting people in finding things that they can easily implement,
Mm.
is finding what you innately do anyway, whether that's moving or writing or getting a pencil, and you know, we all have a pencil or a pen and paper. um, it's finding different ways to release.
Yes.
And I think that is so important in what we're talking about, is that the regular therapies are about talking.
Yeah.
And a lot of us can talk really well, and we've been talking for a good while now.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people that actually are stuck or need support or need something extra and reaching out to a therapist, they don't always have the words, or need, you know, different roots to those words or the feelings, or they might never have the words. And that's why it's so important to find those alternative and creative therapies and ways to find your story. And that can be know the story that is already existing, or it can be stories in songs. You know, and as a performer, that's what I always look for, is the stories and songs. You know, I won't sing any song if it doesn't mean anything. And some are, you know, just speak for so many people. And I remember asking a guy who was, you know, had psychosis, and I was doing drama therapy with him when I was studying, and you know, not a whole lot came out of it when I was trying to talk to him. And we found music, and he came in with all these ABBA lyrics, and through those I found out more about him than anything I could have asked him. Just went through the lyrics as somebody else's words that became his words. There's so much merit and beauty and strength in those alternative arts that are just at our fingertips when we can use them properly, um, and just know that they're there and that people can choose. Yeah, I'm not so good with words,
Yeah.
but I love paint. I'm making a mess. See what comes out.
Yes.
Or maybe play, or
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely, you know, fell upon this, you know, not by coincidence, you know, the kind of stammer that I kind of developed as a young teen, and the need to sing it out, you know, rather than
Mm.
speak. And then, yeah, and then just finding, you know, the space in my room to just paint and draw instead of doing anything else, you know. It was
Mm.
just those two things, I suppose, that got me through the teen years, and I'm really grateful for that. Maybe what I might do is just ask you one question about drama therapy, and just if you could use it in your own words, how would you describe drama therapy?
I always found the beauty of drama therapy within, amongst the other arts therapies, that we could use everything. We could use drama techniques, we can use role plays, we can use story, we could use sand play, we can use art therapy, we can use music therapy, we can use dance therapy. Um, the drama therapist can use anything that they want, really.
Mm.
Um, there's not a lot of limit on what a drama therapist can use and has in its toolkit, which I think is great, because you have to listen to the person that comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
and therefore you can choose anything that you feel that this person or that they express that they want to use. And you go, I have everything. What is it?
Yes.
Uh, and I have it. And I think it's therefore different to art therapy or music therapy or dance therapy, who much more specifically use that art.
Yeah.
So a drama therapist doesn't necessarily have to use dramatic techniques or plays or role play. It doesn't have to be role play at all. And I think that's what a lot of people think with drama
Yeah.
therapy, is that you have to do role plays and become characters and basically um, do things that actors do. But in my experience, and all the things that we learned in drama therapy, is that it's so much more and very expansive.
I often use the term creative arts therapist. I find that just less
Mm.
restraining. Yeah, I love saying that
Yeah,
because like that, like, there's dance in me and there's song in me. So, if somebody wants to go there, I'm gonna go there with them, so I
yeah.
always love the term creative arts therapies. But yeah, it's not used as much, I don't think. Um uh,
No, I'm sure there's therapists that use something very specifically.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I agree the term creative arts therapist gives you more scope as both the therapist and the person coming to you.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of coming to you, where can
Mm.
people find you? Like, what is your online name, your website? What way can people look you up?
That's a hard question because I have many different hats.
As I found out today, Googling you.
What am I doing today? Am I am I a singer today? Am I an actress today? Am I a mental health worker today? Or am I a gardener today? Um, well, in this context, it would be the playback theatre that would be most apt, and flexible to talk to people about it or even get people to experience it, because we started last year with open rehearsals so that people can taste what it is, see what it is, um, ask questions. I think it is definitely an art form that you have to see and feel to know what it is. So if this tickles your enthusiasm and curiosity, you can find us on the internet under fullcircleplaybacktheatre.com and fullcircleplaybacktheatre@gmail.com. You will find me.
So yeah, I suppose I just want to finish by saying thank you so much for your time, and just saying everything that you have, it just sums up pretty much um, the reason why we get into this kind of line of work and how it finds us most of the time.
Yes, I think the creative arts find you. Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Thank you very much, Vicky. And may your series be going out there and getting people curious about what we do, and
Yeah,
find some support out there that they need if they need it.
and embrace it. Embrace all the therapies there are there. There's so many out there. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah, and there's something there for everyone.